So the question tonight is, how can you direct the listener to what you want to convey by choosing the right tunes? Through a practical example, Head of Music Tobias Gustafsson will take you through the process of making a game trailer from a musical perspective. Please give him a warm welcome on stage.
I'll start by using those. So, hi guys. My name is Tobias. Everyone calls me Tobbe though, and I'm the head of music at Paradox Interactive. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about how to choose or how to create music that's in line with the game. Yeah, let's get going. I would like to start to say that I would like to keep this as an open session. If you have questions, just raise your hand and let's go. So, the first thing that I think about when we start creating music for a game, or if we choose music, sometimes we create music at Paradox from start, from scratch, or sometimes we use licensed music. It's like a little bit different when it comes to base games. If you start with a game that hasn't, from start basically, I usually sit down with a game developer or with a game director to talk about the vision and what's it about. So what do I want to convey? I want to convey that the feeling of the game is in the music. And that sometimes can be quite tricky because, sometimes you have an idea with a game that doesn't necessarily have to be the exact same kind of music. For example, it could be really, let's say that you want to do, for example, the surviving the aftermath. It could be nice to just use piano music, for example, which might sound strange when you talk about it, but when you play it and you listen to the piano music, it might be just great, So the first thing, again, is to convey the feeling of the game. Then the second thing that I think about is that I want to be able to get the gamer to relate to the music. If, for example, if it's an expansion, then you want the gamer to feel like he or she has heard the music before. So for example, I will give you an example later with Stellaris. Stellaris was from the start kind of orchestral vibey music, but Andreas Waldetoft, who I think is here, he eventually started to go more sci-fi. So nowadays, when we're doing new expansions, we really try to keep this the harmonies and stuff like that from the beginning, from the base game, but we want to kind of develop the sounds, and that's why we're using different sounds. By the way, Martin is standing over there. He's the composer for Stellaris nowadays. His name is Martin Hall, but he's called Mayor. A little applause. We're going to play your music later. Yeah. The third thing that I see as a bullet point when it comes to convey music is that I want the music, without interfering with the game experience, to be as strong so it could stand on its own. Nowadays, with Paradox, we always release our stuff on Spotify and other streaming services. So the music should be as strong, not all of them, but we're getting there. It should be strong on its own, so it has like an own life, if you say. The second thing is the purpose of the music, and this is of course a little bit different when it comes to a base game or a trailer. When it comes to, for example, a base game, I want to create music that creates creativity. For example, if we're talking about City Skylines, have you played City Skylines, any of you? For me, it's important when I play the game that I create music or listen to music that makes me want to grow or build stuff, So that's the most important thing. And the second one is to create music that supports the game. It's a little bit different if you're writing music, for example, for an artist, if I can make that comparison. You want the music to be upfront and have focus. When it comes to gaming, you want the music to support the game. So sometimes you need to be, I guess you heard the expression, kill your darlings. You have to take some stuff away just to make sure that the game could develop, And of course, if it's a trailer, which I'm going to give you a couple of examples of, you want to sell the game. But the tricky thing when it comes to trailer is like, for example, if you have an indie game, you can't make a trailer that sounds Hollywood, if you know what I mean. It could be nice to watch it, but you want to convey what the game is about. So For example, if you see a trailer of a new game from Paradox, I want you to feel that what you get in the end is quite the same thing. Not like it's Hans Zimmer in the trailer and it's MIDI music in the final game, so to speak. So, well, I will show you an example of how you can convey different feelings by choosing different kind of music. And this trailer we released, I think it's 1.5 years ago, or about that. And I will demonstrate it with different music examples. And in the end, you will listen to Martin's fantastic music, which is the original music to it. But we'll start, and you just look and watch and see what kind of feeling or emotions you get while watching it. This is with kind of a feel-good music vibe to it.
I feel like the day you were born was like a lifetime ago. It went by so fast. I need to go, but know that you've been with me every day. Stay strong. Don't be afraid. Everything will be okay. I promise. Know that I did what I could to protect you.
All personnel, man your battle stations. Enemy ships approaching. Immediate takeoff.
I solemnly swear to devote my life and abilities in defense of the United Nations of Earth, to defend the Constitution of Man, and to further the universal rights of all sentient life. From the depths of the Pacific to the edge of the galaxy,
Readings are off the scale. What is that thing?
for as long as I shall live.
Well, what do you think about that? The apocalypse. It's more like a feel-good movie, but the thing about it, and what I'm trying to get across, is the fact that you really can decide what you want, or what you as a creator want the audience to feel when they look at a trailer or a base game. So this is like not the apocalypse, so to speak. The next one, it's the same trailer, where I put in a lot of tension music, almost like, I shouldn't say it's horror, but tension. And it's going closer to what we ended up with in the end, but it's still far out. So, sorry for the guys who doesn't have headphones. You can watch the you can watch the video 4 times. So, a little bit of a tension trailer here.
Checking defense shields, fuel systems, and engines. All that is looking good. Roger that.
I feel like the day you were born was like a lifetime ago. It went by so fast. I need to go, but know that you've been with me every day. Stay strong. Don't be afraid. Everything will be okay. I promise.
Radar detecting large unknown objects.
Know that I did what I could to protect you.
All personnel, man your battle stations. Enemy ships approaching. Immediate takeoff. Everybody, 411 Coming in hard, man.
You get it. Another example. It's not, you know, this kind of music, it gives you some kind of spy vibe, right? You believe that she has, you know, a different agenda than actually what she's doing. So again, it's so important that you convey what the game is about. And I have to say that coming from a perspective of being a creator, I really hate when, for example, in games as well as in movies, when the musician or the one who decides what music it should be in the game kind of tells you what to feel. For example, if you see a really, really sad scene, people are crying and everything is going south, and you add a string to it, it's like telling you you should feel sorry now, you know? It's always up to the viewer, to the gamer, to decide what he or she should feel. That's what I believe, anyway. So I will give you another example. It's with quirkiness, and I think this trailer gets a totally different approach with this quirky music as well. We're gonna watch the original in the end, and then of course there will be questions. But so a quirky one.
Checking defense shields, fuel systems, and engines. All that is looking good. Over. Roger that.
I feel like the day you were born was like a lifetime ago. It went by so fast. I need to go, but know that you've been with me every day. Stay strong. Don't be afraid. Everything will be okay. I promise.
Radar detecting large unknown objects.
All personnel, man your battle stations.
Enemy ships approaching. Immediate takeoff. 3 marks and 411 up. Relative. Elements are dry. I can't see them. Motor's gone. We have to take them with us. Come get high, man. Readings are off the scale. What is that thing?
Yeah, quirky, like a feel-good movie with a little twist. So I'll show you the last thing will be the original one, and you can see what we ended up with in the end. And then, of course, I will take questions. But if you already have questions, just shoot them over, and I'll see if I can answer them. Let's look at the original one, and we can take questions after that.
Checking defense shields, fuel systems, and engines. Roger that.
I feel like the day you were born was like a lifetime ago. It went by so fast. I need to go, but know that you've been with me every day. Stay strong. Don't be afraid. Everything will be okay. I promise.
Radar detecting large unknown objects.
Know that I did what I could to protect you.
All personnel, man your battle stations.
Enemy ships approaching. Immediate takeoff.
I solemnly swear to devote my life and abilities in defense of the United Nations of Earth, to defend the Constitution of Man, and to further the universal rights of all sentient life. From the depths of the Pacific to the edge of the galaxy,
Readings are off the scale. What is that thing?
For as long as I shall live.
Yeah, beautiful. Like, have you played Stellaris? Anyone? Yeah. If you listen to the music that was created for the trailer, it's exactly, I shouldn't say exactly the same, but we used the same kind of instruments, the same kind of vibe for the DLC, for the expansion as well, which is what I talked about in the beginning, the importance of releasing a trailer to give you, the one who plays the game, the same kind of thing when you start playing the game. So very important. I don't know if I said Andreas is the first composer of Stellaris. He's over there. He did the soundtrack, the in-game of everything. So he deserves applause as well. So that's cool. That's about it. If you have questions, just, Yep.
So how okay, I think this works.
Yes.
First of all, I want to say I think you made the right choice with the music for the
Thank you very much.
but I also heard you say that you didn't like when movies tell you how to feel.
Yeah.
And I can recognize that from horror movies. You get this scary music before you're scared.
Yeah.
And builds up a lot of things. But on the other hand, you also wanted to support what's happening. So how do you find that balance between not forcing the player to feel what he needs to feel, but also still supporting this when it happens?
Well, of course, that's the tricky part. And that's what sometimes, as far as we, as a creator, as much graphics and animatics we can get, as well as, the story behind the game, before the music is being created, then of course it's easier. But sometimes it's like you have an idea, you start to create something, but that could be like a twist in the game or whatever that makes the music turn out to be on the wrong side of this, thin line to walk. So to answer your question, it's tricky, but I think it's like you want to keep it in a certain level that you don't, in Swedish we say you don't want to write the feeling on the gamer's nose, basically. But it's a tricky one. You have to try and okay, is this maybe too much? For example, when we were listening to the quirky stuff before, like when you start to add brass and stuff like that, you always end up with some kind of quirkiness to it. So you can, for example, Stellaris, there's a lot of instruments that you can say we won't use those instruments for that game because they won't be suitable. But you could try, but probably not. I don't know if I answered your question, but it's a tricky one, and you have to be a little bit careful and be able to be flexible, I think. Yep.
Yes, so I was wondering, you touched on it a bit in the end of what you were saying. How do you, or it's both, what's the creative process? How do you find what tunes are suitable for a game, but also what instruments works for that game? How do you get inspired to try different things?
First of all, if it's a base game that hasn't been done before, then I normally, as I started by saying, is that I talk to the game developer. What's the vision? What's the plan with the game? What's the plot? What is it about? And after a while, you get the idea of where he or she would like to, this is what it is about. And then I normally start with just listening to music that, for me, could be like that vision. And how the process normally goes is that I send over a lot of, Spotify links, YouTube links to the game developer saying, what do you think? Should we place this game in this kind of sound environment? And sometimes they say no. And sometimes they say, yeah, but maybe not that song, but more like that song. And I really like this song. So I you have to navigate a bit and to be able to go through the same goals, But it's a tricky one as well. I don't know if I answered your question, but sometimes it could be great just to create something that is totally wrong. So you can start with this is not what we want, and then you go somewhere else. So, but normally I kind of understand their vision, and then we start working from that.
In the trailer,
Yep.
do you only work with the music, or you are responsible for the whole soundscape? Like, for example, there is a speech and some SFX, and sometimes they align with the music and sometimes not. Can you like tone them down, move them a little bit, or you have to fit the music into pre-rendered video and you can't like change it?
No, normally it's like I'm not in charge of the VOs or the voiceovers or the sound effects, but what we normally do is that we start creating the music, and quite often I get the idea of the voiceover, so you can start, mixing them a little bit. And sometimes, for example, if you're using a voiceover, brass instruments seem to have the same kind of frequency. So brass instruments is always like a no-no if you have a voiceover, for example. But as you say, in the end, we normally have like, I shouldn't say the most important thing is that, but when you get the plot and you get the graphics, the animatics, this is what it's going to look like, then it's much easier for a composer, I guess, both you, Andreas, and Martin feel the same way, that you can have a look at it. And if you can get the voiceover at that time as well, it gives you a lot of creativity to go like, this is the way we should go. And also if there's a voiceover that does certain, there's parts of the voiceover which is more important, then you should really tone down the music and stuff like that. So we're lucky to have those elements to like mix with. But I'm normally just in charge of the music, but the music. Cool. Are we done? Time's up. Thank you very much. It's been great.